if you don't mind watching the waiting room and letting people in. All right. We will officially get started. My name is Lindsay St. Arnold Bell, and I am the Associate Director at Near West Side Partners. This is the second community meeting that we are hosting for College Court residents to talk about the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant. Before we get into the discussion and the meeting about the grant, I do want to bring everybody's attention to a special feature for College Court neighbors. Near West Side Partners and Family Dollar are teaming up, and we will be distributing free holiday decorations to residents of College Court. So we have free trees, free Christmas lights, ornaments, decorations. Beginning tomorrow, there will be a box in the lobby. If you're interested in receiving some of these free decorations, we ask that you just give us your name and your phone number, and we will begin making calls next week. I do want to say, if you're anything like me, you've probably been getting a lot of calls from a lot of really random phone numbers. So know that first, we won't be calling till next week. And second, when we do call, we will never ask for your social security number. So we'll also leave messages. So if you're screening your calls because you're getting a lot of junk calls right now, listen to your messages and give us a call back. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we're here for our Choice Neighborhood grant meeting. Just a really quick rundown of what you can expect. I'll do a brief introduction, kind of get you familiar with what we're talking about. We have Murphy Antoine from Torty Gallison Partners, who's going to be providing some updates on the proposed housing plan. Ken Barbo from Hackham is here to talk about some of the relocation items and other elements that are included in services for the plan. And then Anna Wyrick from the Near West Side Partners team is going to be talking about some of the changes that you can expect to see in the neighborhood. At the end of the meeting, we will we'll open it up for questions and discussion. If you have any questions as we proceed, feel free to put them into the chat or jot them down on a piece of paper and bring them up at the end of the meeting. Next slide, please. So I want to thank everybody who has already gone ahead and muted their microphones. If you're just joining us, we would ask that as we continue through the meeting that you do take a moment to turn off your microphone, be present with us, and be patient with us as we all kind of navigate this strange virtual world. Next slide, please. And again, at the end of the meeting, we will have an opportunity for questions and discussion. So as we're going through the meeting, note those items that are of interest to you, add them into the chat box or jot them on a piece of paper so you remember them at the end of the meeting. We will call on people as we go. When you're unmuted, we do ask that you introduce yourself and then ask your question, speak very clearly and slowly so we can get that down. And then for everybody who has since joined us, I do want to remind you that we are recording this video, or we're recording this meeting, and it will be available on Near West Side Partners website. For those of you who joined us last week, you can go back and see that video. This will be there as well. If you have neighbors who aren't able to attend tonight or weren't able to make the last meeting, let them know that these recordings are available and they're welcome to watch them. And if they have questions, we'll follow up with them individually. Next slide, please. We can go ahead. I'm Lindsay St. Arnold from Near West Side Partners. Can we go to the next slide? So today we're talking about the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant application that Near West Side Partners is working with Hackham and the Torty Gallison Partners team to submit later this month. The Choice Neighborhood Initiative, you should be somewhat familiar with as College Court residents. We've been working on the development of the transformation plan that was part of our planning grant for the last 2 years. And the implementation grant's kind of like part 2 of the grant process. This allows us to take all that great work that we've done over the past 2 years and present it to HUD as a plan to really make some changes in the neighborhood. And those changes would focus kind of around 3 different areas. The first is related to housing. So it looks at how would we transform College Court and other public housing located in the near west side? How do we support the people living both in College Court and the neighborhood with the kinds of services that can help them be successful in housing and health and education? And then how can we change the greater neighborhood to provide the kinds of amenities that support families and individuals that live there? Next slide. So what you can expect, we are preparing our grant application now. In 2021, HUD will issue about 5 Choice Neighborhood Implementation grants. Each grant is up to $35 million. A portion of that can be used for those people services. Another portion can be used to make the changes in the neighborhood. But the largest part of the grant, 70% of the grant, is really dedicated to transforming housing, which is going to be the main focus of our meeting today. Next slide. Our grant is due mid-December, so December 16th. We should know whether or not we are a finalist in early spring. And then by May or June 2021, we could find out if we are the lucky recipients of this grant. Next slide. So as I've mentioned a couple times, the team that's really leading this is the City of Milwaukee and the Housing Authority, Near West Side Partners, and our anchor institutions, especially Marquette University, who's been instrumental in the carrying out the planning grant, and then the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Milwaukee and Torty Gallus, who's come on to help us with our housing development. And then you are the key stakeholders, our residents of College Court. You have been with us for the last 2 years. You've provided really important feedback that helped develop the transformation plan. And that transformation plan is the foundation of this application. Our other stakeholders are, our public schools, our nonprofit organizations, the churches in the neighborhood, the Near West Side residents that live in the neighborhood. So it's a really large group of people that are informing this grant application. Next slide, please. So this is one of 2 community meetings that we've held in the last couple of weeks to share the information about this grant and specifically the housing portions. We've talked about what we wish to see in the neighborhood a lot during the development of our transformation plan. And hearing from our College Court residents has really been key to developing a plan and developing a grant application that is meaningful, not just to the HACM and the people who are working on behalf of it, but meaningful to the people who will be impacted by it. So we thank you for participating in community meetings and in the workshops, for asking questions and sharing your feedback on the things that you hear. This really helps make our application and our plans stronger. Next slide, please. So we're going to move on to Murphy Antoine from Torty Gallus. Really quick before we do that, I just want to mention to all of the people who have joined us, we will be giving away free Christmas decorations to College Court residents. You will see a poster in the lobby of College Court starting tomorrow. If you are interested in receiving free holiday decorations, be sure to sign up there. And with that, I'll turn it over to Murphy.
Great, thank you, Lindsay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Murphy Antoine, an architect and planner with Tordy Gallus and Partners, working with the Near West Side Partners and HACM in the city on the housing strategy and housing plan for the choice neighborhoods. Looks like we've got almost a couple dozen people this evening, so thank you very much. We did speak with you last week at the beginning of the week, and we want to give you rehash some of that information. I'm sure we have some people that weren't able to join us in the previous meetings, but also give you some new information, particularly on the housing portion. If you go to the next slide. The near west side is a big area, and we've talked about this before, but it is an area that goes from I-43 on the eastern side to 175 on the western side. It goes up to Valete Street, and it goes down to I-94. So just looking at this map, you can see what a large area it is, and it is focusing on two sites. Your home at College Court on Highland near 35th, which is two senior apartment buildings, apartment towers. And then there is a family HUD assisted affordable housing project called Meadow Village at 17th and Valete, which you also see on the right side of this map. That is the other target site. And the idea is to focus on those sites for housing, but also have a larger impact throughout the neighborhood in other ways, with other new housing, with other renovated and rehab and adaptive reuse housing, and also with some voucher opportunities. So if we went to the next slide, if we go to the next slide, you will see many of the different site opportunities and potential areas that we're looking at beyond College Court, which you still see here, and Meadow Village, but making a bigger impact throughout the larger Near West Side area. And to do that, again, it's not called choice neighborhoods by accident. The idea is to really introduce choice into housing options. So when I talk about new housing or renovated housing, when I talk about vouchers, when I talk about housing for very low income individuals and housing for workforce income families and housing for market rate families, those are what the choice, housing choices are about. So trying to provide a wider option to give people more choice. And we talked about some numbers last time. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the numbers to give you an idea of what is going into the application. If we go to the next slide, we'll see a series of charts that explain that. So first and foremost, we are looking to improve the housing conditions for what, in the HUD language, are called the target sites. So College Court and Meadow Village. And whatever happens at College Court and Meadow Village, we need to make sure that all of those homes are replaced in a new and improved way. So there are 90 homes at Meadow Village, which you see in the top part of this chart, and we're replacing 90 homes on the Meadow Village site with those, and that's simply because we are renovating all of those family homes, those family apartments at Meadow Village. So everything is taken care of in terms of that replacement. At College Court today, there are 251 one-bedrooms, and we are looking, and you'll see in a couple slides, we're looking at building a new building on College Court, brand new apartments, and we will replace about 89 of those units. So again, we need to take care of 251, so we need to find 162 other choices and opportunities in the neighborhood for people to to cover all of those College Court units and apartments and homes. If we look at the chart at the bottom, what this says, what this speaks to is a mixed income program. So there are 341 affordable housing replacement units, and that's the 251 at College Court plus the 90 at Meadow Village. So there are 341 HUD subsidized affordable housing units that automatically come back as part of the program. Now, HUD would like to see not all very low income return. Take care of all the very low income homes, but don't come back with all very low income homes. So there's a mixed income component to this that is on top of replacing the College Court homes and the Meadow Village homes. And that consists of a workforce housing component. So those middle income tiers of 205 units, and then a market of 137. So the magic number is 683. And it is magic because it is twice as many as the replacement, twice as many of the College Court plus Meadow Village units plus one. So to get that mixed income tier, it's very affordable, workforce affordable, and market rate. If we go to the next chart, you'll start to see some of the components that are going into that housing. And I mentioned vouchers. Vouchers will be an option for folks to take to move, and all the proposals we've received are within the neighborhood. But these replacement project vouchers, we received, I'm going to call it four proposals with multiple parts, and they add up, and that's just illustrated as proposal A1, proposal A2. And so these are developers or property owners in the Near West Side that have an interest in improving their properties and providing vouchers for folks. And those counts add up to 215. So it's actually more vouchers than we need to replace the count, the 162 that we need to make up for College Court. If we go to the next slide, you'll see how this entire housing program starts to come together. We have 90 at Meadow Village that we talked about. There are 90 there now. There are 90 getting renovated as we speak. So that comes back as 90. We're talking about a new building that you'll see in a minute on College Court that is 112 homes. So that's 202. The chart that we just looked at said 341 replacement, 205 workforce, 137 market rate. To get to 683, we have 202 off the bat with Meadow Village and College Court. The chart in the middle of the page talks about some of those voucher opportunities here towards the bottom of that chart, adding up to about 62 vouchers, and some of that replacement housing happening maybe not with the vouchers, but happening with development within those developments. And that's this middle category of 279 that is the balance of the replacement, but that's not in vouchers, and then the remainder of the workforce and the market in that last column. So the other piece of this chart that introduces, and when I talked about the choice and the options, it's color coded as a mix of blue means new construction, so there's some new housing, and the green is renovation or rehabbed housing or adaptive reuse. So there. Hey, I got muted for a second, but I think I'm back. Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up. All right. So, so the blue means new construction, green means rehab. So you add all that up, we're at 595 right of this chart. Not quite 683. So as of last week, as we were evaluating the voucher proposals, we still need 88 units, 88 homes to get to the magic 683. So there were some other additional vouchers that came in as part of those proposals that we're going to add into the program. That will be at least 25 and more than likely more than 25. And then there's another cluster development opportunity, meaning in one of those clusters on the maps that we were looking at, of 63 units. So that gets us to 683 homes that will be part of the Choice Neighborhoods implementation housing grant, mixed in all these different portions. So it's not so important to remember all of the numbers, but if you see lots of different categories, new and rehab, lots of different rows, so there are lots of different places within the neighborhood to go and opportunities. That is how we make the impact on the larger area of the Near West Side, and that's how we offer the wider range of opportunities and housing choice into the program. So I'm usually not a numbers guy, but it is very important part of the application, so we wanted to share what was going into that with you. If we go to the next slide, what I am is a pictures guy. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those housing opportunities and what they look like. You know College Court well. Again, two 13-story apartment towers, relatively old, all one-bedroom apartments, small apartments, difficult to maneuver if you've got a mobility impairment, need a walker, need a wheelchair. Not a lot of storage, small kitchens that you see here, and old plumbing, old air conditioning, old heating. How does that get improved? We go to the next slide. As I talked about, we are proposing a new building, a new apartment building on College Court that in plan or from the air looks like this. And so you can see it facing the street, that it's got an edge to the street that in the body of it really lines up with the neighbors. It's got parking in the back, and it has a mix of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments and some other areas. And there's 112 or so apartments in this building. And this is an overall site plan. You can see it relative to West Highland and the alley behind and 35th Street. If we go to the next slide, you'll see a larger plan of the ground floor. Did we lose one? Actually, if you go back one, sorry. On that, so you see also apartments, and you see amenity areas. So there's a commons, a community room, there's a management office, there's more space because we know how crowded it gets in the community room, or at least used to get in the community room at College Court before we were all in the pandemic, and in the library as well. So we've tried to provide enough amenity and also 40 parking spaces. We go to the next slide, then you're upstairs, and you will see you don't have the community rooms, but you have a more regular series of apartments, again, 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms, and you can see what the proposed building looks like. Again, a new building, but what that looks like from Highland in the elevation above. A 4-story apartment building, more fitting with the scale of the Near West Side, I would say. And we also looked at a lot of historical precedents for really nice, simple, but historical apartment buildings in Milwaukee and in the Near West Side. And you can see some of that in the brick and the brickwork and the bay windows and the entry and column. And so that is what we are proposing for College Court. We go to the next slide, and that's new construction again. So when I talk about housing options, it's new construction there at College Court, mix of 1-bedrooms and 2-bedroom apartments. At Meadow Village, there are 90 family apartments, 2-bedrooms, 3-bedrooms, and 4-bedrooms. that are being renovated into 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and there's also some 5 bedrooms. But it's not new construction, so the plan doesn't change so much. The outside appearance doesn't even really change that much, but the apartments get the new things that we talked about, like we talked about for College Court: new air conditioning, new heating, new plumbing, more energy efficient systems as well. And then we'll just look at a couple of, if we go to the next slide, we'll look at a couple of those, what we're calling clusters, the places around the near west side where there might be other opportunities. There are a few opportunities around State Street and 23rd, what we're calling kind of the City on a Hill campus, where Milwaukee Academy of Sciences and several other buildings and empty parking lots are. That might be opportunity for new voucher program or new housing in a renovated or adaptive reuse opportunity. And another cluster, if we go to the next slide, you'll see other potential housing options, again, sort of concentrated around Kilbourne and 26th or 27th, and also around Wisconsin and 28th. And then there are even some more clusters further west around, call it Wells and 35th or so. So that is where we are on the housing plan. Again, we've got a couple of weeks before the application goes in, 2 weeks from tomorrow. And if we go to the next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Ken Barbeau from the Housing Authority to talk about the people component of the choice neighborhoods.
Thank you, Murphy. This is Ken Barbeau. I'm the Director of Community Programs for the Housing Authority. And, while choice neighborhood does transform the housing, as Murphy Antoine discussed, we also want to work with the people who live in the housing and make sure that we're meeting their needs and helping them to meet their own needs. So if you go to the next slide, one of the first things that we'll need to do is really work with each resident one-on-one to talk about relocation. When Murphy was going through what was going to happen with College Court, you heard him say that College Court, we were going to build a new building in its place, which means that the old College Court has to get demolished. So we've done this in a couple other instances, Cherry Court, Highland Gardens, Convent Hill, where we've built new buildings. And what we do is we work one-on-one with each resident to talk about what their relocation options are. And the relocation options might include if we have vacancies in one of our other public housing high rises. That could be an option. So perhaps we have vacancies in Arlington Court or Riverview or Locust Court or some other high rise. That's an option. Another option, and it probably will be the one that's most used, is using a rent assistance voucher. You also might know of it as Section 8, a Section 8 rent assistance voucher. And what that is a voucher that you can take to a private landlord and get a subsidized rent. So you don't still only pay 30% of your income as rent, but you'd be living in the private market. So this is a temporary relocation for a period of a couple of years while we're building the new College Court. We're not going to spring this on you at once. This is something we work with you carefully on. We have a relocation coordinator that really works individually with each resident to decide, determine what's best for them, what they want to do. And then, if you select using a voucher, we'll give you some leads as to where there might be places in neighborhoods that you want to live in. So this is not something, relocation can be scary. This is not something where, we leave you on your own to do. We work with you throughout the process. We're going to provide the moving supplies. So boxes, tape, etc. That's all provided. We hire moving companies. So we pay for the whole costs, both when you're moving out of College Court and then when you're relocating back to College Court or one of the other properties where we're going to be building this replacement housing. And so, we could pay for all those costs. We also make sure that if there's any other costs that a resident might incur, like maybe there's a fee to reestablish your cable service or something, we would take on that additional fee that you would not have incurred if we didn't have you move. So those are the kinds of things that we help you with during the relocation process. And again, there's not many things that are more stressful than moving, which is why we work with you and prepare you for it. It's not sprung on you so that, in a week or two, you're going to move. We work with you on that and get you ready for it. Next slide. Okay, so once the College Court, the new building is completed, or the other replacement housing, because if you recall, right now we have 251 apartments at College Court. When this is all said and done, there's going to be fewer apartments at College Court, because some of it, we're not building towers as high as they are now. And so there's going to be other buildings close by, a couple blocks east or a couple blocks west, in the near west side, where people are going to be living. And so you have the right to return. All residents, as long as you're compliant with your lease terms, all residents have the right to return to a renovated replacement unit, replacement apartment. So we're not moving you out of College Court and you'll never be back. Everybody has a right to return. When we're building accessible units, because part of what we want to do is increase accessibility for those who are in wheelchairs or who have mobility issues. And so if we're building accessible units, those units are prioritized for those who need an accommodation if they have a mobility issue and need that accessibility. We can't promise you that you're going to return to the new building at the exact location as College Court. We will work with residents who prefer that, but we can't promise that because some of the replacement units are going to be in other buildings nearby. So if everybody wants to return, there's going to be some units at College Court and some a couple blocks away from College Court because we're building other buildings. We're kind of deconcentrating College Court. It's going to be a slightly smaller building, and there'll be other slightly smaller multifamily buildings in the neighborhood as well, so that not 251 people are all going to be living in one place. So that's how we're going to deal with reoccupancy. And again, you will have the right, if you want, to stay living where you are living during the relocation. If you say, I'm happy where I am and I don't want to move back, that's fine too. And we'll work with you on that. So there's nobody is forced to return. That's your choice, your option. And you have that right. Next slide. So we're going to be doing construction work here, and anytime that there's HUD dollars that are spent in any contracting, in any grant, there are certain requirements we have to meet, and one of those is called Section 3. And what Section 3 is, it was actually passed by Congress back in 1968, and what it said is that whenever federal dollars through HUD are spent, where there are employment or training opportunities, those employment or training opportunities, to the greatest extent possible, have to go towards low-income individuals. And so public housing residents are specifically defined in the law as low-income individuals. And so we look, whenever we're doing hiring, we look to make sure that any public housing residents or Section 8 rent assistance participants who are qualified are certainly included in the process. So if there are any residents who are interested or skilled in the construction trades, there are going to be job opportunities. So if you are interested, let us know. There's a couple ways to do that. We have an online Section 3 resident registry, and we can help you get your resume on that with your skills. We have a Section 3 coordinator. His name is Gabriel DeVogus, and we can connect you to him, and he can really assist you. The jobs that we have are not only construction jobs. Whenever we hire for administrative positions, those are also covered by Section 3. And we work, when we're working with our contractors, we help link them to qualified low-income individuals. So we want to make sure that if there are public housing residents who qualify for jobs, we want to get them employed to the extent we can. There are also requirements for businesses that hire low-income individuals or qualify as a Section 3 business, and we assist them as well. So if you are interested, when we get closer, you can contact me. You can contact me anytime, because I can link you to Gabriel DeVogus, who can help you get on the Section 3 registry. So my phone number, I'll give it out here if people want to write it down. My name is Ken Barbeau, B-A-R-B-E-A-U, and my phone number is 414-286-2905. And my email address is kbarbe@hacm.org. So I can link you to who you need to be linked to if you have that interest. Next slide. When we talk about people, we already did at College Court a couple years ago, and you may remember this. We did a needs assessment survey. It probably took about a half hour to 45 minutes of your time. It was a lot of questions. And what it did was walked us through, things that we needed to know about what your needs are. Are people interested in employment? What are the barriers you're finding towards employment? Are your needs more related to healthcare? Do you have health insurance? Are you linked to a provider? Do you have a regular place to go get dental services? Those are kinds of the things that we talked about. We also talked about neighborhood issues. Where do you do your grocery shopping? Would you like to see a grocery store closer? Those kinds of things. So we did a full needs assessment, and that is really what's helping to drive the strategies that we're using in our people section. One of the requirements in choice neighborhood, and one of the actual strengths of having one of these choice neighborhood grants, is it allows us to hire case managers. So right now you have some minor service coordination through Lutheran Social Services. It's a part-time, people helping out. What this would allow us to do is hire full-time case managers to work with the residents of College Court, not only when you're at College Court, but also wherever you relocate to during the 5 years of this grant. So even when you're relocated out into the neighborhood, these case managers stay with you and they work with you. And they work on any needs that you have. They help you prepare a plan in terms of, what are your goals? What do you want to do? Some people, this is a senior disabled building. Some people are retired, they're done with employment, but others want to work and they want to be employed. So if that's one of the issues, we work with individuals in terms of what are the strategies to get you there? What are the barriers you're encountering? And is it job training? Is it just some help with the resume and the job search? How do we work to get you employed and employed into a career path? Perhaps it's on asset building. Some of you may have taken our Make Your Money Talk program before. It's a financial education program through the Wisconsin Women's Business Initiative Corporation, WIBIC. And what that is it teaches people how to do a budget, how to handle a credit account, how to increase your credit scores. And so it's really an education course that is very helpful to individuals. And so we'll be working with WIBIC to do something similar for College Court residents. and Meadow Village residents as well. Everything I'm talking about for College Court applies as well to that other development we talked about, Meadow Village. They're a family development. So we'll be hosting some classes at College Court or in the neighborhood to make it easier for folks to attend. So that's some of the things we're going to be doing in asset building. There's also ways that you can put money away to save if you're interested in home ownership or one of those types of options as well. On the healthcare side of things, we'll be working with residents to make sure they're connected to a doctor. Do they have health insurance? And making sure that if they have needs in the area of healthcare, that we're linking them to potential sources in the community where they can get those needs fulfilled. On the education side of things, we're working with Milwaukee Public Schools to really help to improve or promote the quality schools in the neighborhood. And there's also quality private schools in the neighborhood. So that's one area where we're also working, especially for the Meadow Village families who have children and who may need early childhood education for their children. There's a lot of quality institutions in the Near West Side that folks aren't even aware of. In terms of College Court residents, we'll work on adult education to the extent we can. Some people may be interested in going after, perhaps, we have some younger folks at College Court who might be interested in a degree from MATC. So we'll be working in the area of adult education and also education for children in the neighborhood. Next slide. I think I talked about education strategies as well already. In addition, there's a possibility that we might be able to set up an endowment trust using some grant dollars to put away into a endowment for the future. So for example, this is a 5-year grant. Normally when a 5-year grant is done, the grant dollars are done. That's the end of it. There is the possibility of potentially seeding an endowment trust where we might be able to sustain some level of services for the future. We've done that at some of our other developments where we had something similar. And so that's something that we can look at doing. Next slide. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anna Wyrick of Near West Side Partners, who's going to talk about the neighborhood.
Thanks, Ken. So I'm Anna Wyrick. Like Ken said, I'm the Choice Neighborhood and Commercial Corridor Development Administrator with Near West Side Partners. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So I'm going to share a little bit about our critical community improvements plan. And so these are physical improvement projects throughout the Near West Side that will support all residents, but really aimed at improving the amenities, especially those commercial amenities available to all of our residents. So first up, improving retail offerings. A couple different ways we'll be looking to do this, developing commercial space, as well as providing facade grants for current property owners to help spruce up their space on the outside and hopefully to attract a new tenant, a small business to move in there. One of the other ways that we will be aiming to increase the retail offerings is through our Rev Up MKE Shark Tank style business competition. So that's the image that you see there on the screen. Working with Waterstone Bank for the past few years, Near West Side Partners has hosted this awesome event that really lets small businesses pitch their idea and then funds and helps these businesses to get off the ground. And a majority do choose to stay in the Near West Side and open up their storefront, including Pete's Pops and Triciclo, Peru. So we're excited to keep this program going. Another project under the CCI plan is housing stabilization. And with this, we will be looking to support low-income homeowners to make sure that the facade of their home is up to code, that their porch is in good shape, and offering small grants to help those homeowners stay in their homes. And then finally, under the CCI plan, we have 2 placemaking projects. So trying to provide more community space outside for people to gather and spend time with their neighbors. First up, we have the Hank Aaron State Trail entrance. So the near west side is just north of the Hank Aaron State Trail, the wonderful bike, walk, run path that really goes through the heart of Milwaukee. And we actually have an entrance from the near west side right into the to the trail there. However, very few people know that that entrance is there. And so what we'll look to do is to add some lighting, add some art, add some signage, so people know how to access the trail and can really keep moving and stay active. And then finally, our last project is a park that will be in the vicinity of some of the redevelopment sites. So some of those places that Murphy talked about earlier, there's lots or lands that we're looking at to develop a park that has a walking trail and a playground for the kids, as well as maybe a gazebo or some type of outdoor gathering space so that people can come together, share a meal, and spend some time outside. So those are our CCI projects. Let's go to the next slide. The other big part of the neighborhood piece of this grant is safety. So in the near west side, since 2015, there has been a 30% decrease in Part 1 crime. These are the crimes that people typically think of, including robbery and that kind of thing. So we have worked really hard to bring the crime rate down. And 2 of the main initiatives that have really contributed to this decrease are the Community Prosecution Unit and our neighborhood ambassadors. So the CPU is a conglomerate of the Milwaukee Police Department, the District Attorney's Office, residents, Near West Side partners, all working together to find creative solutions to problems in the neighborhood. So this is a data-driven initiative where looking at data from MPD, this team, this community prosecution unit, develops strategies to go into the neighborhood to solve problems. So for example, one of the things that this team has put together is last December, we had a Ring doorbell event where people, were concerned with some of the crime going on in their area. And so Near West Side Partners worked with the Ring people to get a discount on those camera doorbells. And we're able to distribute those to over 100 different households in the Near West Side. So we're excited to keep working with this community prosecution unit, analyzing data and coming up with new initiatives to keep the crime down in the Near West Side. And then our last initiative is our neighborhood ambassadors. Hopefully a lot of people are familiar and recognize Dwayne and Savannah, our wonderful neighborhood ambassadors. They are both residents of the Near West Side and have gone through a lot of trainings and different educational opportunities so that they can better serve the community and really be the liaison between the Milwaukee Police Department and residents in the Near West Side. So they are out on the streets on a daily basis, talking to residents, talking to business owners, and trying to solve problems creatively, seeing what they can do to help solve issues and connect to resources that MPD might have other things going on. So we're really proud of the work that these ambassadors have done. One of the things that we hope to do in the future is have the ambassadors host trainings on things like how to fill out the MPD hotshot form, as well as different mental health training sessions as well. So that is our safety strategy for the neighborhood section. And we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Murphy to kind of bring us to a point of discussion and maybe answering some questions.
Great. Thank you, Anna. And I'll turn it over to all of you to open this up for some discussion and answer your questions. It could be about choice neighborhoods. It could be about the housing plan or the people plan or the neighborhood plan. Some of the things that you've heard tonight, or other questions you might have. We can do this a couple of ways. You can unmute and ask your question. If that starts to get sort of all jumbled up, we might ask people to use the digital raise your hand, but I think we could start by just asking people if they want to unmute, or, we have been looking at the chat. You're welcome to put your question in the chat if you would prefer to, but I'll be quiet for a moment and let people jump in with questions or comments.
Okay, I have a few questions. I live in College Court. I have a question I had asked a couple of times, but I didn't get an answer to it. I even had called to try to get this information. I left a voicemail. I would like the link to the webinar. I was not the link that I have. I was not able to get on. Now, that one webinar that you all had on November the 18th, I was able to watch that, but I was not able to find this one at all. So I'm not sure what link or what to go to, because the one that I have that was given to me in my apartment building, it doesn't work.
Okay, well, we have certainly had challenges, and I'm sorry that you've had to deal with that. I know the meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, and with the calendar flip, I don't quite remember the date. I know there was some confusion.
It was 11/18. Yeah, the first one was 11/18, and then there was the one I've been to the 11/18. I was able to watch that one, but then the 11/23, that one I was not able to watch. But I was on the phone on that one, so.
Okay.
Well, I apologize. We will, this is Ken Barbeau. I believe Near West Side Partners are going to be posting the link to the video, and I will make sure it gets put on the Housing Authority website as well.
Okay, because I did go out there also, and I couldn't find it. So if you're going to put it out there, I'll just keep checking.
All right. Yeah, I apologize. Our communications person was out for a couple of days, but I will make sure it gets up.
Okay. Now, the other question, you all talked about this is regarding the plans for College Court, building plans. You talked about amenities, but you only spoke about the community room. What other amenities, were there? I'm assuming, of course, washers and dryers. Will they be inside the building or on each floor? Dishwasher. You did mention air conditioning and heat. So, yeah. Could you kind of go into that? What are you looking at? Okay.
Sure. I'll talk about amenities in sort of two ways: the sort of in your home amenities, right? And then the sort of building amenities. But I also wanted to come back first on your first question. Of course, we're going to make these available. I did kind of go back and just glance at my calendar. The good news is, if you caught the November 23rd, that was a recording of the presentation from the 18th. We knew that there were some challenges with the 18th, so we rehashed it on the 23rd. So if you caught either one of those, you got the same content, but we're going to get it up on both the Hackham website and the Near West Side website, so you could go back and look at that. But if you go ahead.
I'm sorry. I thought so the 18th and the 20th. So no, I caught the 18th, but not the 23rd. I wasn't able to see this. So you're saying the 18th and the 23rd were the same?
Yes, they were the same. The 23rd, we repeated the 18th for people that couldn't find us on the 18th.
Yeah, I was. I came right up for the 18th, but nothing for the 23rd. I was on the phone for the 23rd, but on the 18th, I just pretty much watched.
Right.
So okay, so if
you
that's
caught
the
that
same,
content. Yep.
I did, and so I hope you all put this one up because I would really love to see this one. It's just really easy to follow, you know, when you can see it. So
Sure. Absolutely.
okay, okay.
So juicier architect stuff anyway on amenities. In the apartments, we heard very clearly over the last couple years, and even going back to 2017, when we at least started to have these conversations, that
Right.
storage was a problem in the units.
Mhm.
That we heard about laundry. We heard
Mhm.
about small kitchens, which I think has to do with appliances and storage. So you're
Right.
going to have more, I'll call it contemporary instead of modern, but you'll have more, 21st century kitchens with cabinets, with dishwashers, with garbage disposals that don't break down. Laundry will be provided, and that is not 100% established where yet in terms of, is it in the unit or is it in a laundry facility on the apartment building floor. I will say in other choice neighborhoods, the projects that we've done in Milwaukee and with the housing authority, it's mostly within the unit. But again, it's not 100%, but it's going to be within the building, and you don't need to go somewhere else for it.
Okay. Yes, I was a part of that 2017 as well, and that filling out that survey. Yes, that was my question. Would it be one on each floor, or just the way it is now, the 2 laundry rooms, or one inside the building? So my option was inside your apartment building, or on each floor. But anyway.
And
okay.
And it will be one of those rather than probably not every other floor or something like that. So
you say one of those, like either in the building or inside your apartment building, or
either inside your actual apartment or on
right.
your floor.
Okay.
Or a separate laundry room on your floor.
Sure. Okay then. Thank you.
And
That's
then
all
I'll
I
just
have
say
for now.
a little bit amenity space in the building. It is when you look at the floor plan now, it's just a big shape of blue. And so what we want to do is provide enough flexibility and enough space that you can use it for multiple things. You can use it for meetings, you can use it for some of the supportive services that Ken described. I know the library function in the existing building is popular, so can there be something like that? Can you use it for meals? So we want to provide enough space and that it can have different sort of flexible programming. And as long as we're providing space in the building, we can work out those details of what it is that you really need. Once we get the grant, once we get it in, but space is being accommodated, and we know that those kinds of functions are important to the residents, and we want to make sure that they get provided for.
Okay, great. And then I'll just wait for that link on the hacm.org website for tonight.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from folks? That HACOM website link and the Near West Side link are also places where you could, if you think of questions later, you can come back and contact us. And so we're working hard towards the application. Maybe if you just go to the next slide, Brian. Again, we've got 2 weeks from tomorrow until it's due. We're meeting with the Meadow Village residents tomorrow evening, and the larger Near West Side community tomorrow at lunchtime. It'll essentially be the same kind of information, the same sort of slides that we talked about today, but more geared towards those audiences. Meadow Village has a population that needs translation, a lot of English second language or foreign language speakers. So that's a different kind of meeting. But we've got that going on. Then we've got the application due again, the 16th of December, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Lots of work for that. But we will continue to stay in contact and let you know how that goes and certainly what we hear back about the application.
That's good, because that was my question last week. When will we know? And I know you did say you're going to be putting an application through in December. So, okay. Well, thank you again.
All right, we're about at time, and I don't want to keep people, but I'll give it just a couple more.
Does
quiet for a
anyone
minute.
else have a question, or
Right.
hopefully everyone who's on a phone knows how to unmute. I don't know, Anna, if we had muted them all or if they muted themselves. So I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to ask questions if they have any.
Yeah, anybody on the phone should be able to unmute and ask a question at this point.
Yeah, I
have a
unmuted
question.
myself.
I have a question. When will the actual renovation begin?
So for College Court in particular,
Yes.
so that is one of the things we need to work out in the next couple of weeks is the phasing of all those different pieces that I showed in the charts and the map. What comes first, what comes second,
Okay.
what comes third, what comes fifth or sixth. Meadow Village is obviously the first one because they've already started doing the renovation there. What I would say is if we don't even know whether we got the grant or not until June of 2021, there is nothing that would happen until call it, even the fall or this time next year for the next phase. And I would imagine that College Court is a phase after that. So there's always this balance that you're doing that as Ken said, relocation and moving is scary. That's not going to happen tomorrow. So you don't need to worry about that. Nothing would happen for, I would say, a year at least. But we also want to balance that with getting things moving as soon as possible. But again, we don't even hear about the grant till probably June of 2021, and nothing probably happens on the next phase until call it a year from now at the earliest would be roughly what my experience would tell me. Other questions?
Well, for the people on the phone, if you, I think you mute and unmute with *6. If you want to ask a question.
If they did not mute themselves, you're correct. *6 will unmute them if somebody else had muted them. Otherwise, if we have no other questions, I guess we can wrap it up.
Sounds good. Thank you all for spending part of your evening with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
And these will get posted on the websites in the next day or two.